This time we have wide receivers coach Ryan Garrett. Questions for Coach Garrett? John, go ahead.
Just your group, you kind of meshing a whole bunch of different guys together. You got some guys you inherited, some guys you brought with you to Jack State, some new guys. How's it all coming together?
I think it's coming together pretty good. The big thing for us is, and they know this, it's every group on the team, we're asking them right now at every day of fall camp to go out there and play as hard as they can for 2 hours, So we have a lot of new guys. We have some guys that have been with us, some guys that were here in the spring. So just getting them to understand that's the expectation. And a lot of the new guys have bought in, and they're doing a good job of that. But we still have a long way to go. It's always exciting as a coach to have so many guys that are competing. It's a cool situation to be in where we don't have just any solidified starters. So I think every day these guys go out there, in their mind, they're competing to play, and that's not just what they're thinking, that's the reality of it. We're watching and grading everything, so that's been exciting for me to get to see them all compete.
You see a guy like Ray who's got physical ability, and he's been to a couple of different places, had injuries and whatnot. How do you get it out of him? I mean, he's got a lot of ability.
He's got a ton of ability. I think, my job is just to coach him and guide him and tell him what we're looking for and how to get there, and his job is to get it out of himself, and to his credit, he's done a great job of that. He's playing really, really hard right now. He's productive, and he's put himself in a really good position. But, he knows that we believe in him, and he knows the expectation that we have of everybody in that room. So he's done a good job of buying in and giving us what we want.
Do you separate guys into playing inside and playing outside, or do you let them go wherever?
So we have certain guys that are primarily slot wide receivers, and they're coached by Coach Bradley. My guys, the wideouts, they're going to play primarily X and Z, which are two outside wide receivers, but they're expected to know all 5 of our skill positions. We're going to change personnel groupings, and those guys know that they need to be able to play slot, they need to be able to play wideout, and their best ability is going to be availability and knowing what they're doing, right? So if they want to be in there when we go 10 personnel, if we go 0 personnel, it's going to help them to know how to play every single position.
So the difference is in what you coach, just the routes, or are there actual different things you coach inside outside?
No, we're going to teach them all every route, but those wideouts are going to be running different routes than the slots a lot of times. It's certain guys are going to be playing more wideout, certain guys are going to be playing more slot.
Smith, Brown, and Ramper, are those 2 guys that can do both? Or
I think right now we're challenging all of them to do both, and you see recently in practice the last couple of days we've been mixing some guys in, moving them around to different positions because I think back to that first question, we have a lot of new faces, so we got to figure out who's best and where to put them.
What are you looking for, depending on what position they play? Like, oh, this person's good at this, they should go on the outside, or this person's good at this, they should go on the inside. What do you look for? How do you decipher which player goes where?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think schematically, those wideouts are expected to be generally bigger body type guys. They're going to be dealing with a lot more press coverage, tight press coverage. So ability to get off a press and win vertically down the field is going to be pretty big for the guys outside. Whereas our slots need to be able to win vertically, but in a different way, right? Because they have more room to release out on certain routes. So generally those slots have kind of been shiftier bodies, and the wideouts have kind of been your standard long, bigger wide receivers.
3rd and 5, and you need a first down. Do you know who that guy is that you can rely on yet? Is that coming?
Not yet, but I'm hoping we have a few.
So previously you were at West Virginia State for a year. Was there something that stood out to you that made you want to follow Coach Rodriguez back here?
I'm Coach Rod knows this. I'm extremely loyal to him. He's put me in a great place in my career. He believed in me, kept me on as a graduate assistant when he got to Ole Miss, brought me to Monroe with him, helped me get that job at West Virginia State, brought me to Jack State. So I believe in what we're doing. I believe in what he does. I know it works, and I love working for him. I love working in this program. I think it's happening all over college football. You hear Coach Rod talk about it a lot. It's a different landscape we're in right now. These guys are pampered, and there's some good, there's some bad to it. But one thing I like about working for Coach Rodriguez is you're going to know what you get every day. Players know what they're going to get. Coaches know what they're going to get. And there's a standard that everybody's held to, you know, and he doesn't bend those rules for anybody, whether you've coached for him for 20 years or whether you're a player who's played with him for 5 years. It doesn't matter. When you come to work, everybody's expected to work a certain way. So that's something I appreciate working for him. So for me, it was a no-brainer to come with him when he gave me that opportunity.
Downfield blocking, obviously really important in Rich's offense. What are the coaching points that you're stressing when it comes to downfield blocking and technique and stuff like that? And then who has kind of stood out in that regard so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just straining, right? I mean, and that goes for every position, but we're going to play with the ball and without the ball the same way. And that's what our guys they're starting to understand, but that's what they need to understand is there's going to be times when you catch a slant route and you're going to take it upfield and you're going to want to know that that receiver on the other side of the field is busting his butt to go get a block for you. There's going to be times when a running back breaks one out and they're relying on us to be downfield finishing for them. So a big thing we're coaching right now is strain, you know. We spend, 5-10 minutes every day working perimeter blocking, but ultimately the guys that we recruit here are not recruited to be blockers. They're recruited to go stretch the field and make plays downfield. I think the biggest asset you can have for being a great perimeter blocker is your willingness to do that. So we're not going to take anybody that we feel like is not coachable and is not going to work hard for his teammates.
When you say willingness, is it like, even if it's not a great block, if you get down there and like get in the way for half a second? Like
If I'm in that defender's way, he's got to get through me to go make a play, right? Now, if I get an opportunity to get hands on him, get hands inside, run him downfield, finish him in the ground, I want to do that too. That's just fun playing football, right? But a lot of it is just straining to go. Something you'll hear me yell at practice all the time is finish the play engaged. So if I have the ball, I'm finishing the play by either in the end zone or making them tackle me. I'm not going to step out of bounds. I'm not going to slip up. I'm not going to slide. I'm going to be engaged through. If I don't have the ball, when that whistle blows and the film cuts off, when it's on, moving on to the next play, I want to see them engaged with the defender. With or without the ball, I'm finishing contact with somebody. So I think that's a good coaching point that helps those guys out and gives them a mindset of when this play ends, I'm going to be engaged in something. I'm not going to be standing and watching.
Before about a bunch of guys that you have to work, how much do you need to see before you have to start narrowing it down and figuring out, okay, here's our guys?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't know if there's an exact answer for that. A lot of consistency, but I think the biggest thing is we've got to get guys to consistently play the way that we expect them to play, and that's more important than anything. Now we track. I could show you our grade sheet in there. We grade practice. We're going to be up here late. We watch everything, and we're grading production. We're grading effort. We're grading strain. We're grading, are you getting your block? How many yards are you getting? How many explosives are you getting? So obviously that all comes into play. But the guys that are going to be out there are going to be the guys that we're relying on and we feel like we can count on. If I know that you're going to do your job, that's what's going to get you on the field. So I think the list is it's starting to narrow a little bit. But to these guys' credits, man, they've been competing every day. So I'm just asking them to go give their all. And something we talk about in our meetings is I want the hardest part of my job to be deciding who gives us the best chance to win. I don't think, if there's two guys that are clearly the best and everybody knows it, then that puts everybody else in a weird position, right? These guys are competing right now, and they're doing what we ask them to do.
Tight ends aren't your direct responsibility, but in terms of meshing them into the passing game when they are part of it, or even in blocking, how much do you all work together, you and Coach Nicewinder and all the other receiver coaches, in trying to figure out how that meshes the best?
Yeah, our tight ends are going to be expected to play out of the formation as well. They're going to be lined up at slot. There's going to be times when they're at wide out. So there are some drills we'll run together. You'll see in routes on air, we're running some of the same routes because formationally there are times where our X receiver could be in the slot, the tight end could be wide. Or there are certain times our tight end could be on the field switching with the slot receiver, running some of those routes. So I think it's important as coaches for us to all be on the same page on what are our coaching points for this route. That way a tight end's not hearing one thing from his coach and a slot's hearing something totally different from myself or Coach Bradley when they're running the same route. So we try to be as detailed as we can when we're teaching it. When we're giving them plays to draw up, they all have the same coaching points.
With so many lefties in the quarterback room,
Yeah.
do you have to teach anything a little different just because of that, or is it a different catching the ball? I'm assuming, right?
So the ball actually spins the opposite way when a lefty's throwing it. I don't know how many of y'all knew that, but that's something we've done this offseason is we have 5 jugs machines that shoot balls. So those machines, we turned them this winter. We switched them to where that ball is coming out from a left-handed throw. Now we can go back and forth because obviously we have some right-handed quarterbacks as well. But I do want those receivers to be comfortable seeing that ball spinning the other way. I think for them, that's the only difference, is seeing it spin. I think for myself as a coach, I've had to kind of reset my mind. When a left-handed quarterback's in there, sometimes you call it a different way. So when we're scripting things, I've had to kind of get that set in my mind, but those guys wouldn't even notice that. So, yeah, but that's a really good question. That was something kind of a priority this winter for me is make sure we got those jugs machines turned to get some left-handed spirals and right-handed. We've got to work both.
Tail the other way then because of the spin?
I don't think it really matters that much on a deep ball. I think the big thing is just seeing which way the ball's spinning. That can throw you off a little bit if you're not used to it.
How the group's been operationally. You've got 1 through 5 quarterbacks that you're working through. You've got wide receivers in different groups. Sometimes when you get down to 4s and 5s, things can get a little chaotic. How's it all been with all those guys trying to get them in?
Yeah, I think it's important right now, especially early in camp, to make sure we're putting different guys with different groups too, because it'd be easy to get a guy come in and he's new, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's going with the 3s or the 4s all the time, and you don't really know, okay, maybe he's productive there, but how would he be if he's going against the 1s, So that's something that we've been trying to do. Coach Rodriguez, Coach Rhett Rodriguez have done a great job of mixing those quarterbacks in and really letting them battle. And we have kind of the same mindset with the wide receivers. So I want to make sure that every receiver is going with every quarterback so we can find our best.
How many receivers do you feel like you can feasibly, consistently work into the rotation in this offense? Because you mentioned you have a lot of guys battling neck and neck right now.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we'd like to play as many as we could. I think that keeps their legs fresh. We're going to play fast. You guys know that. You've heard that from Coach Rodriguez. So I don't think there's a certain number. If we have 10 wideouts that can all play and all give us a chance to win, I'd love to get them in and let them play. Because if we got 10 fresh guys and there's no drop-off, that'd be a great position to be in as an offense, right? Something that I think is important, most teams we play, and this is something we look for, they don't like to sub their corners out. Usually if you have 2 good corners as a college football team, then you're feeling pretty good, all right? So you get down to that 3rd or 4th string corner, that's somebody that usually we want to take shots on. So if we can keep fresh legs in there and not get those corners rotating, that corner might be a 4.3 40 guy when he's fresh, but when he's exhausted, he might be a 4.7 guy, right? And if we can keep fresh legs in there, then our guys are going to go by him. So our guys understand that. They know that they need to be ready when they get their opportunity.
Ryan, how much of your finished play goes into that too? Because running with the receiver is one thing, but man, if he's messing with you every play, that gets tiring.
Yeah, a ton of it. I mean, if you're a corner out there and okay, this guy's going to come off the ball, try to beat me deep, I'm going to be fighting and straining, and I got to go try to break up a deep ball from him. All right, he's attacking it, he's taking it away from me. Then the very next play, I'm sprinting back, that ball's going across the field, and instead of me being able to stand there and watch, I've got a receiver putting hands on me, trying to put me in the dirt. I think it could be exhausting to play against, and our guys are starting to understand that. That's something we emphasize on film all the time, is we never want to give those corners a play off. And it goes back to, like you asked, usually they have 1 or 2 guys that they want to keep out there playing corner. So we want to make them uncomfortable the entire game, whether we have the ball or not.
That coaching point that you picked up as a player, as an assistant, as an observer, saying, hey, why don't guys do this all the time?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
that coaching point of just finishing the play, did you get that as a player, as an assistant? Did you just watching the game?
I mean, to me, guys, it's just that's how you should play. You're out there. I don't want guys out there that want to take a play off. I get bored if I'm standing around watching out there. So we want guys that want to be active. They're not spectators. If you don't have the ball, go finish. It's pretty simple.
There's certain things go into route running, kind of common knowledge, depth of the route, sharp breaks, things like that. Are there other things that we don't often see that make for a good route runner?
Yeah, I think the ability to get out of my break as fast as I can is a big one. And that's something we work a lot. You know, we talk about anything in breaking, out breaking, or even a vertical. I want to be able to change my speed, and we should see an acceleration at what we call the break point. So let's say we have an in-breaking route, whether it be a 5-yard in or a slant, whatever it may be. We talk about this all the time. The fastest point of my route should be when I change direction coming out of my break. I think guys that can do that, that can shift their weight and know when to accelerate to get open, that's a big thing to create separation. That's a good question.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Appreciate y'all.